Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Josh and Jason Monday Christian and Conspiracy Podcast Show. I am your host, Josh Monday. And if you don't know me, I'm a Christian rapper, devoted husband, father, and Army veteran. And I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, Jason Monday, football coach, Christian, devoted husband, and father. What's up, brother?
What's up, man? We just won today. Awesome. Very good.
Yes.
Very good game. All the kids did what they were supposed to do. All of them, they did everything really well. So it was a good team win. Very happy. My son is killing it. I can't believe how good that kid is.
His son is kicking butt, so that's cool. That's my nephew there.
Not far from the tree.
Good job, Maverick.
So doesn't fall far from the tree.
Jesus is my savior in the background. Amen to that. Let's go.
So I folded that up. You know what it said at the bottom, right?
Yeah, I know what it said.
I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna roll that out. I don't know.
Good. Yeah, let's keep that because we got some stuff we could bring up on this about that. So,
but I was gonna say though about that movie Mystic River, it's the same thing. Cops that are or pedos that go around the city and they act like they're police officers, and they would lure the kid into the car, like saying, you're in big trouble, we're going to take you home, you know, what are you doing out here, you know, and then they disappear.
So kind of the same kind of stuff, man.
Yes. And then Changeling was the same thing. The cops and Clint Eastwood, he made both those movies.
Oh wow, interesting.
And Changeling was not even that far away from my old job. That was crazy. The house, everything was like right up the street from my old work. You'd go by there. Creepy as heck, dude. Chicken coops everywhere. Huh?
From which one you worked at? Which job?
Santa Ana River Water Company, Miraloma.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was Wineville before that, but it's Miraloma now.
Oh wow! So
yeah, the house is right on Wineville, 6310 Wineville. Dude, it's crazy.
Yeah. So ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to go over today is going to be the Johnny Gosch and the Franklin scandal. So it's going to be pretty interesting stuff. So that's why my brother was bringing that up. So let's get into the Bible verses for today. We're going to go into Luke 17, verses 1 and 2. It says, then said unto the disciples, it is impossible, but the offenses will come. But woe unto him, though whom they come. It will be better for him to have a millstone or hanged around his neck, and he cast into the sea, than that he should offend one of these little ones. So Jesus is basically saying, you're better off having a millstone hung around your neck than to offend these little ones, and other would be like to tempt these little ones. So what I would say is these people that are involved in these pedophile rings and kidnappings and stuff like that, what they're doing is, you know, or molestations, what they're doing is they're messing with these kids so bad that later on in life they're going to be stumbling. It's like a big stumble block. So to make one of these little ones stumble is terrible to do, man. And I have another one, Matthew 18 verses 1 through 8 or 1 through 6. It's kind of the same type of, I think it's kind of the same thing about I'll just do verses 5 and 6. It says, but whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it'd be better for him to have a millstone hang around his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Okay, so this all kind of goes along with what we're going to talk about. So the reason why I even chose this, Jason, is because I just saw an Instagram post of this lady that says that 800,000 children go missing in the United States. And then she started naming off all the different, Europe and Canada, all these different places where children go missing. Now, let's keep in mind, these statistics are not like 800,000 kids get kidnapped a year. That's not what it is. It's just 800,000 children go missing. That has to do with kids being runaways, has to do with family members taking kids. Let's say there's a custody battle and you want to take your kid for 2 more weeks.
Yeah, but those are like the minute parts of the percentage of that. Yeah, most of it is getting snatched up, and it started to run rampant back then. Like no one was even paying attention to it. Like
it's actually it's okay. So the way the FBI reports it, it's not excessive like 800,000, but what it is, keep in mind, guys, that
that's worldwide though, right?
No, worldwide is actually, there's an estimated 8 million children that are reported missing each year in the world. 8 million.
I heard something about Passover, like a lot of kids go missing on Passover. like
Yeah.
around that
So
time,
it's
like
interesting.
big time. And you know, like to do something like that, and to, you know, like nowadays you got videos, you got people with phones, you got people with, it could take pictures quickly, you know, and it's a lot harder for these
Yeah. Yeah. For them to operate,
children,
dude. You're
yeah,
right.
for them to operate, but they still
100%.
do,
They do.
you know,
They do, man. And
they
it's
still do.
and even more staggering statistic I wanted to bring up before we started on the intro is that America produces half of the child pornography that's distributed around the world. So how many kids are truly being trafficked, you know, and if this is happening, they produce half, bro. That's freaking crazy. That's disgusting. Anyways, let's get into this, man. To this where's Johnny, dude? Or what happened to
Kind of
Johnny?
gets hard with me. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I didn't like watching the video and studying this stuff that much and getting through it because it hits home with me because I have a son. And I
Yes.
also, I had a very big fear of this when I was a younger kid of that. And after learning about John Walsh and all those and stuff like that, and how fast, you know, you turn your head and your kid could be gone. You could just not even a second and your kid's gone. And I see people every day now that they don't pay attention too much to their kids, and then they wonder why, you know, he gets snatched up in a Kmart or a Walmart or a Home Depot or even at the park or anything. It's very scary, and it's very scary to
Yeah.
think that people are
So our
surveilling
message is
surveillance in you.
yeah, message. This is our message to the parents to make sure that you watch your kids, man, and also
And teach them.
and teach them to not, you know, to make sure that they don't. I guess we'll do this in the conclusion, but just make sure that they don't not only don't trust adults, but as you're gonna find out, don't trust other teenagers either, because it looks like some of these kids were actually involved in this. You know, they went from victim.
Oh, it's been that
to
way for years. It's
assailant.
called Stockholm syndrome. You
Yeah.
get your victim. He's young age, young. He just, after a while, he just thinks it's play, or that's his lifestyle. So that he just thinks that's how life is. Because you're a kid, you're very
Yeah.
impressionable. Your mind is like
Yeah.
a sponge. So whatever they're telling you, you're gonna believe. Like Santa Claus is real, Easter Bunny is real. You know,
Yeah.
like then they don't get it, and then after a while, they understand like this isn't right.
Yeah.
You know, well, I don't know what happens, but on this story, what's crazy to me was that, you know, they were contacting her. You know, they were like leaving her little clues to go keep trying to find him and stuff. And that's torture.
Well, I'll get into that. I think that you're talking about when they left the pictures and stuff for her to see or whatever.
Yeah, dude, on her birthday. On her birthday and on the anniversary of him being taken, basically.
Yeah, that was interesting. So
they sent him those pictures.
Let's go into the whole story real quick, and then we'll get into that when it comes up. So, okay, so Johnny Gosch. Okay, this it all happened in Des Moines, Iowa, in September of 1982. The reason why this is important for us to bring up is because it connects to the Franklin scandal, which is the one that we're going to bring up after this. Okay, so Johnny Gosch, he started a newspaper route to pay for a dirt bike. He was doing the route with either his mom or dad. He was only 12 years old. So his mom or dad would go with him on the route. They were trying to teach him values and stuff, you know, and also he was trying to pay for a dirt bike. So he asked his parents if he could do the route by himself. And his mom said no. And his dad was saying yes, but they decided not to let him go by himself. That same night, the dad received a phone call at 1:30 in the morning, and the wife said he answered the phone as if he knew the person. He said, okay, no problem. And then he hung up. The next morning, Johnny went on a newspaper route, and he ended up going out by himself. So he was supposed to go with his dad, but he ended up going by himself. So maybe he came in the room to get his dad, and his dad probably told him to just go on and by himself. And his parents woke up to the phone ringing, and it was the neighbors telling him that Johnny never delivered the paper. So the dad went looking for his son, came back, told his wife to call the police because Johnny's wagon was full of newspapers, and there was no Johnny. He was missing. So they filed a missing person's report, and the police took 45 minutes to get to their house, and they were only 10 blocks away. So I thought that was pretty interesting. That was kind of a red flag that happened. And when they first told the police about Johnny being missing, they immediately diverted the story, that asking him if he's a runaway. Has he ever ran away before? They kept pushing it towards that Johnny ran away instead of him actually being missing and kidnapped. I thought that was pretty interesting, dude. So while the 45 minutes was going by for the police to get there, the wife, Norine Gosch, called the manager of the paper route, got all the names of the kids that met up with Johnny that morning. She started gathering her own witness testimony. Also, she ended up getting together a search team to try to find Johnny. So right away, she was like a pit bull already, not letting go, man. She's already like trying to find out what her.
So you got to do that. Your mother instincts kick in, and you're like, hey, something doesn't look right. So it's not right. Even in the dad, I would never, ever, ever let my son go do something like that by himself, where I wasn't with him, or I don't care how tired I am, whatever it is. I'm not going to let him go by himself to go do something like that. You and your wife discussed it. Yeah, you should not go by himself. You got to respect it, your wife. Now, would you think that maybe the dad?
Okay, that phone call is very important. Okay, very important, because I'm going to tell you guys exactly what one of the witnesses said about the dad. So pay attention to that phone call. Notice he said it was a wrong number, but he said, okay, and then he hung up, whatever. So anyways, so she ended up gathering witness testimony, and so she got information from one of the witnesses that there was a blue car that pulled up, asked for directions, and Johnny felt uncomfortable with the gentleman, and he ended up telling the other kids that he was going to go home. So he left his papers there. As he walked away, the gentleman in the car flashed the light in his car 3 times, is what the witnesses said, and then drove away. The witness saw another guy walk around the corner, the alleyway, and then they started to follow Johnny. Johnny turned a corner, and the witness didn't think of anything. Johnny turned the corner, that person turned the corner too, and then the kid didn't think anything of it, because he's not going to think that he's getting kidnapped. So the mom told the cops this, and they acted like they didn't even hear her. And they asked her, did her son ever run away again, before he took the paper and drove away with the cops. So they
kept pushing the fact that he might have just ran away.
That's it, man. Like the police kept pushing that and pushing it. And then they left. So the cop basically drove away right after that, and was putting the case as he was a runaway. They didn't show back up until like 2:00 in the afternoon. So let's look at some of the red flags that happened during the investigation. So during the investigation, the police chief Oreville Coney kept telling his men to stand down, that he's just a runaway. Even during the when there was a search party going on, okay, he ended up standing on top of the park bench with a bullhorn, telling the search party to go home, and that the boy's just a damn runaway.
I would never. First of all, right there's a red flag. When there's a search party for anybody, or someone's missing, I don't care. You go look for the whole night, and you're not going to round up a whole bunch of people just to send him home and say he's a runaway. That's not right. You don't do that to anybody. At least even if you're trying to hide it, try to make a valiant effort to hide it.
Yeah, dude. And the mom, the mom was like totally, she was all over it, dude. She was like all over it. She got a search party together. She's got people searching all these different places. She ended up calling
the FBI
senator.
She called the senator. A lot of stuff. She was interviewing everybody, writing it down.
She had a full timeline. She called the senator, and she asked him if he could please don't put the helicopters in the sky inside in the air, so that the National Guard helicopters into the air, and they actually denied her and said that she'd have to pay $800 an hour for the helicopters. So I guess a newspaper had found out about that, and they ended up letting the news ended up letting their search team use their helicopters. Did you hear about that? You didn't hear about that part?
No.
It was interesting, bro.
That's weird.
So this is that's a red flag. So also what happened was, during the investigation, the police chief Oreville Coney, they took it from they took the investigation from like it being him being kidnapped, and they placed him back to being just a runaway. So what that does is when officers from different parts of the neighborhood I'm sorry, different let's say different
Jurisdictions.
counties. Yeah, jurisdictions. When they end up seeing that it's just a runaway, then they're not gonna, they're not gonna follow up on it. They're gonna think that he's just a runaway. They're not gonna be following up on these.
But you still gotta look for them.
Yeah. So they were. So what was happening was she ended up calling all the news stations. She ended up just making all the posters. She ended up doing all this different stuff. And in the meantime, all the police were doing, they weren't pressing because Police Chief Oreville kept telling his men to stand down. So they were like, he wasn't pushing for them to be searching for this, for Johnny, which is terrible.
Sounds like The Changeling. Sounds like these two movies mixed together. I swear. It's not, I'm not even playing with you, dude. It's like weird how the actual same thing, the cops doing the same thing, trying to avoid doing their job, Yeah. And then when you look at it, you start to put it as, oh, these guys might be in on it. You're not stupid. I mean, if you're an investigator, like, I'm not dumb. If no one's looking for this kid and a mom is like pressuring it, okay. And nobody's even heard about this stuff.
You wouldn't think like that and until you find out about the Franklin scandal and all this bigger stuff that's involved, senators and politicians. So we'll get into all that though. But so also he was telling the FBI that he didn't need help on the case. There was also a sheriff from another jurisdiction that actually pulled over Norine Gosch, and she told him straight up, she told her, listen, we sent men over there to help him with that case, and he denied help from us, so we couldn't help him. But we were trying to send people over to help you with this case. We know you're a good woman and you're trying to work hard to find your son, and we sent sheriffs over there, and he said that he did not need help with the case. So this police chief, man, something's going on with this guy, man. It's crazy.
Well, that makes me think like, hey, you're either covering something up or you're in on it.
Yeah.
Or you're just too lazy to do anything about it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's coming from, for me personally, I believe that he was getting orders from higher up above him, telling him to stand down, because as we get deeper and deeper, you guys will find out probably why this police chief was telling his men to stand down. It was just it wasn't just some creepo hanging out, in a van, like, oh, I'm going to get this kid. It was just like, there's so much more to this story. So we'll kind of get down into it. Okay.
It always starts off as the creepo in the van, but who hired the creepo in the van?
Well, the person that actually took him, it's like an organized thing, dude, we're going to talk about. So another interesting thing was 2 weeks after the kidnapping, there were two girls that got kidnapped from Des Moines, Iowa, and also ended up, they ended up actually being found in Nebraska. So these girls and suspects were found by Nebraska police. Norine Gosch asked the police chief to check into this to see if these cases were actually connected, but they refused. Now, the reason why this is important, because Nebraska is where the Franklin scandal actually happened. Okay. I know this is in 1982 and the Franklin scandal didn't come out till 1988, but as you see, there's a lot of, sex trafficking going on or child trafficking in Nebraska. So, and this police chief refused to see if this stuff was connected, which is terrible. So instead, what happened was Norine Gosch ended up holding a press conference and talked about the two girls that got kidnapped and found in Nebraska, and was trying to bring light to it, so that other police departments can try to follow up on it. And she was actually saying on the press conference that this gentleman, Chief Oreville Coney, is not doing his job, right? And not following up on these leads, and that the FBI is not following up on any leads for her son. So she's on a press conference in the news telling them this, right? So 2 weeks after she threw the press conference, Norine received a phone call saying that she better stop making waves. So she actually started getting threatened for what she was doing. So the crazy thing that ended up happening, there ended up being the large pedophile ring in Nebraska, which we're talking about, the Franklin scandal that surfaced in 1988. So these two girls were actually kidnapped by the people that were involved in the Franklin scandal. That's what Norine Gosch was assuming. I can't tell you. I don't have, I'm trying to connect them all together, but this is just pretty interesting. Do that.
Well, now you got all these, everyone talking about this guy being a pedo, that guy being a pedo, Hollywood being a pedo, all this Disney being pedos, all this stuff being pedos. But this stuff was going on. It was so easy to do it back then. It was so easy to do it. You could just do it and no one would find out because nobody would do the work to find out because it wasn't that big of a, no one thought about that way. Nobody even heard of a pedophile till the like middle 80s, like late, like mid 80s, like right after this happened. Oh, they're looking for kids. Like, okay, so you're telling me that their target, my son was picked by a pedophile to get him because he liked his picture or whatever. So now you got the internet.
Yeah, it's bad, bro. And so now, if which I'll show you how all this connects. I don't want to talk about this part until a little bit later, but yeah, dude, now it would be way more believable, bro, because we can connect all this stuff to stuff like, like I'm gonna try to do an Epstien episode at some point where we can connect all this stuff to like Epstien, to the politicians, to everybody that's on his flight log. All this stuff connects, dude. It's crazy. So after going on the shows, Norine was actually harassed by the FBI because she called her senator and requested help from her FBI. So what happens is if your son ever goes missing and you end up calling your senator, then the FBI has to get involved and they have to do a written report. So she was actually forcing them to get involved. So, and the FBI was started getting they started harassing her, telling her that, hey, you think you're smart, trying to go through your senator and we have to keep doing written reports. And they were being weird about it too, man. So it's kind of weird. They must have been getting something from their higher ups telling them that they need to stand down on this case as well.
Well, in the same, it was in Des Moines, right? I think it was in Des Moines they were doing this.
Des Moines, Iowa. Yeah.
So Des Moines. And then you got, what was it? What was the other place you said?
Nebraska.
So you got two Midwest places that,
yeah.
Nobody cares about.
Interstate,
nobody does news on it. Yeah, it's a quick highway. You jump on the highway, you're gone. No one's there's a lot of wooded areas, places where you cannot be found. And that to me is it's weird that just that part of the because in the report it said Des Moines had a lot of kids being taken from there. And so did, and also in whatever that other state was. I can't remember what you said.
Oh, Nebraska. Yeah.
My bad.
So the interesting thing was she asked the FBI agent, because he was like one of the top guys. She said, so what do you do with your top recruits? And he said, well, we send them to high crime neighborhoods and like with high population, and then she's like, okay, so who do you send to places like Des Moines, Iowa? Obviously not the good agents. And that's
we said
that's what I've been getting.
It's like on what was that movie? Oh, the Big Lebowski. So you guys gonna find my briefcase? So yeah. We got the whole we got guys working on shifts on it. It's like they don't care. They don't care.
For sure.
But I guarantee you, if their kid was snatched up and they're sending believe me, they would be up in arms if Joe Biden's when Joe Biden was 12 and Joe Biden's son got snatched up. You think they're gonna be like, okay, well, he probably just ran away or he's probably over at his buddy's house. No, they're gonna go worldwide search, rip this world apart to find this kid. But your kid, who cares about your kid? He's just another statistic. He's just another number. And if these guys are making money off of this, oh my God, you guys should you really screen who you hire as a police officer. Really screen who you're hiring as these guys that are protecting your houses and your families. Or
screen these politicians, bro. Like screen them, like
get rid of them. Get rid of the politicians.
Some of these ones are crazy, but
let's have our country ran by God. Let's bring all of our problems up to God, not to some politician who doesn't even care about what's going on.
Yeah. So Norine got so aggravated that she actually hired a private investigator. And the way that she paid for these private investigators was she was like selling these chocolates. Like, remember back when we were in Little League where you sell the chocolates for $1?
Yes, a fundraiser.
She ended up selling 250,000 chocolates, dude. That's crazy. Whoa. So she ended up, I'm sorry. She sold 250,000. Or 400,000 is what she
doesn't
sold.
Matter. That's a lot of chocolate.
400,000 chocolates. And then she ended up getting, she gets 50 cents each chocolate. So that's what she used because the private investigator started getting really, expensive because as she was doing these interviews on TV, what was happening is she started getting leads from all different parts of the United States. So she's trying to fly this guy places. So dude, she sold all those chocolates, which is amazing, man. I'm telling you, this lady was really like a pit bull. She would not let go of her son leaving. So what she did is she hired the private investigator, and the private investigator started doing interviews with people in the neighborhood, and the information that she gathered, some of it she didn't share with the police because because she started feeling like the police were not helping her. So what she did is she had one of the neighbors that this is during like the 2 or 3 weeks or month that it had happened. So she had information that was really like current, and she had people that if they did see something, she's going to have current information. So you'll find out later why she needed to have the current information, because, later on, I think 2 years later, the FBI ended up trying to get involved and started interviewing these people. It's like
too little, too late.
Yeah, too little, too late. So anyway, so the information that she got, one of the neighbors came forward and said that he saw a blue van parked in front of his house with the motor running, and a blue car pulled up and transferred something that was wrapped in a sheet. And Paul Bonacci, who was one of the witnesses I'm going to tell you guys about in a little bit, he confirmed this later on, dude, when he confessed to assisting with the kidnapping. So the blue car was the one I talked about earlier that pulled up to these kids. And then, Johnny Gosch ended up leaving, feeling uncomfortable, started walking. And then he flipped his lights 3 times and he drove off. That's probably the gentleman that ended up taking Johnny, dude. And he actually took him and brought him to like a blue van, is what Paul Bonacci was saying. Okay. So, that's very interesting, man, because now that's something that the police should take and say, dude, we got a blue car and a blue van, dude. Now we need to go search for these two. These people are connected to a kidnapping, but they didn't end up doing the job of interviewing all these people, man. They just, once you're police, like me, I was in the military. So once your higher up tells you to do something, dude, you're kind of like, you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, because if the police chief is telling you, hey, stand down, stand down, stand down, that's what was going on. But this courageous woman, Norine Gosch, was not letting them do that to him. So she actually hired a private investigator, had him do all these interviews, bro. So it's crazy.
And after like, even everybody knows, if you're a detective, 24 hours, 32 hours, a week,
well,
evidence.
There's a show called The First 48
during that time, because people forget. People, they start to get a little, they get that. You could bring up pictures of people. They're like, okay, that guy did it, because you're like, okay, because it kind of looks like him, but it can
fresh in your mind.
Yes. And if you got
dude,
license plates, someone had a license plate and they didn't interview that person at the time, they threw the license plate away. Stuff like that. That's crucial evidence. Like right off the bat, I get it. 24 hours. Someone has to be missing for 24 hours. But not a kid. I say somebody over 18 is missing for 24 hours. Hey, yes, that's liable, but not a kid, not a scared child that is petrified. That's used to going home to his mom and dad and saying I love you and saying goodnight and saying all this stuff. That's horrible.
Yeah. So she got so well connected, dude, that an informant actually called her to tell her that there's going to be another kidnapping in August. So she told the police, and the police didn't do anything, didn't believe her. So she got a hold of the director of 2020 because she was being interviewed like crazy, because this thing actually became like he was like the first boy to be on like a milk box. Okay. The missing.
Yeah. So that's how that Have You Seen Me boxes started.
Yeah. That's how it started, was him. So basically I'm telling you, she was like, I'm getting a hold of the press. They started wanting to do stories with her. So she got a hold of the director because they were doing a story on Johnny at the time. And sure enough, dude, another kidnap ended up happening. And it was another kid that was a paper boy, just like her son, Johnny. And what happened was the FBI sent 22 FBI agents from Quantico to come and to work on that case, because all the media involvement, and they didn't even have one FBI agent work on Johnny's case. So that's messed up, man. So what happened is the media went to the police department the next day after that happened, after the kid got kidnapped, and all these FBI agents started working the case and questioned the police chief on camera and asked if you're going to do an aerial search, a canine search for this boy, because you didn't do any of that for Johnny Gosch. the boy that and the boy that actually got kidnapped in this, the one that the informant told her about, they never found the boy, dude. So it's another one that happened in Des Moines, Iowa, dude. So it's crazy. And that happened just in August. And so that was like a 9 months or about 10 months after her boy Johnny got kidnapped. So it's sad, man. Here's the interesting thing. Norine Gosch called each city council member and told them what's going on. Told her that she was going to file a $10 million lawsuit against the police chief, Oreville Coney, and for negligence on Johnny's case. And this is like in 1985. And so what happened is they actually held an emergency meeting, and then that Monday they announced the police chief was resigning. And this is in 85. So she actually got him to resign, which is crazy.
Well, that's all good and all, but what does he know? He went to his grave. No one's knowing a lot of stuff probably. How can you? I don't know. If it's that big and that big of a ring, and people that many people are in on it, and nobody even wants to even find out the truth, that sucks, because you're going. And for her, I felt bad for her so much because she was just doing it by herself.
Yeah,
she's going against the whole world, trying to find a needle in the haystack by herself.
And she didn't know, honestly, she didn't really know how like police work, how detective work even worked. I mean, she said she just saw like, TV shows.
Well, she did a better job than they did.
Yeah. She was doing a better job than that for sure, man. And I don't honestly, like, I was in the army, so I don't really put it on these, and out of the detectives, they should just be just like how she was. But it's tough when your higher ups keep telling you something, so it was kind of tough for them, I think. So after that, they got like a bunch of dead leads, on where Johnny was. Okay. Yeah. So in 1986, Norine was contacted by the police that there was a contract out on her. Okay. So this is pretty interesting. This is something that's just, it's crazy, dude, that now, that it's not just a little, kidnapping of some weirdo taking Johnny and then doing what he wanted for them and maybe getting rid of him. Nah, dude. So now she's got a contract hit out on her, dude, in 1986. And this was told to the police by a mafia member. The reason why the hit was placed on Norine is because she was causing too many waves for these people. That's what the mafia member said. I'm referring to, I believe, I think that she's referring to the pedophile ring of the Franklin scandal. That's what, because as she's going through this and making all these waves, she's actually having them create laws and all this different stuff against people like pedophiles and stuff like that, and create laws against kidnapping. And she started a missing person fund. She went in front of the Justice Department actually, and she actually told the Justice Department that you guys should take away funding from the FBI, some funding, and create like one for kids that go missing, right? So she's actually creating a lot of waves. It's not just like she's just a mom that had her kids still, kidnapped, and she's doing interviews. She's actually doing legislation. There's actually like a Johnny Gosch bill that got passed. So in 1986, dude, they put a contract hit out on her, okay? And so what happened was this man ended up calling her the next morning after the police told her that there's a contract hit on her. She told her to get on a plane, fly to Kansas City, and then fly to Oklahoma. And he told her that he had evidence of where Johnny is. Okay. So Norine had already contacted the police. She contacted the police after this, and the police contacted the FBI, and they sent an FBI agent that looked like her. Okay. So what happened is they sat down at the table. The police officer, the new police chief, was sitting there, and this dude was like a lot better. He was saying like, look, we're not sending her to Kansas City or Oklahoma. The FBI wanted to send her. They said that we're going to have an FBI agent post as your husband, and we're going to send you. Okay. So they wanted to. So what happened is the police chief, the new one, said, no way, we're not sending her because she's going to be dead in Kansas City. She's probably going to end up flying there, and then he's going to try to take her out. So I suggest that you send an FBI agent that looks like her. So they ended up doing that. So they ended up sending an FBI agent that looked just like her. And they ended up busting this guy, dude. So and they confirmed it was a contract hit. The guy got arrested and sentenced to 10 years in prison. I just thought that was super interesting, man, because this is real. Okay.
Yeah, heck yeah, it's way real.
This is real. Okay. This is not just like, oh, this lady's making waves. Like she's making waves where they actually had a contract.
Because nobody was doing that at that time. Nobody was digging. They're just like,
No,
oh,
it would happen.
It's like if you go hunting, right? If me and you went hunting, right?
Yeah.
And we both disappeared, right? We're deep in Montana. They'll look for us. If we're gone for more than a week, it's over. Because it's either a mountain lion ate us, bear ate us, something happened, okay? But they called it, they didn't even start a search for these kids. They didn't even do that. Okay. That's what kind of weird to me. Like you're having people pose as certain people, trick them into doing something that they don't want to do. And then when the actual crime happens, you don't have any type of time to not try to find out what's going on. Because especially in a kidnapping with a kid that no one's paying attention to. Oh yeah, he does this route every day. No one paying attention to that kid at all. Maybe one or two people saw something. They're like, that was kind of weird, but I didn't do nothing about it. But then later on, like, I was there. I saw that happen. Oh my gosh, no one's going to come and talk to me about it. You know?
Yeah. And a way that God created something good out of these evil acts is all the bills that she had passed. And then also in the 90s, a parent stood up like Norine, and then they ended up doing the Amber Alert, which, Amber Alert is basically, you guys probably know what that is. It's as soon as somebody ends up missing, they end up texting everybody in the whole entire United States, the license plate and all that stuff. So.
And that's why all these pedos went out of state, out of country to do this stuff and start doing this stuff from, our borders, stuff like that. Mexico, they started doing that stuff from all the other countries, and it's like they can get away with it there because like it's they don't think about it that way.
Yeah, it's interesting, dude. And also, like, if
interesting is one thing. It's
if
sick.
They could get people. I know it's sick. It's just it's okay. So think about if they could get people into the United States, they could also snatch a kid and take them out of the United States. There's tunnels.
Yes.
There's all this different stuff. So
now you have Instagram. Now you have Facebook. Now you have all these little TikTok, all stuff. A pedo, all you gotta do is go look on a thing and be like, oh, okay, well, I like her. I'm gonna follow her. And then find out information and anything. Okay, I'm gonna pick her. Go get her. Or say you're on Facebook and they see, okay, she lives in Texas. Go get her. I like that way. That is dude. It's so easy now.
Yeah.
But it's also so
hard. Yeah.
No, it's not even so hard anymore. It's seriously because it's, how do you say, it's accepted now. What are you going to do about it, Josh? We talk about this stuff. We put it on a show. We spread the word. But what are people really doing? This lady had to go by herself. Okay. Go by herself and find out all this stuff. Get all these laws pushed, laws passed. Where are the thousands of people that had their kids, millions of people that had their kids taken, that are not just going, hey, screw it, let's take this to the top.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened with Johnny on here, dude. But I honestly, what we
Epstien was doing the same thing.
I know we're going to do an Epstien episode. This is going to bring us
but still,
into the Epstien episode.
He was doing the same thing, getting girls, recruiting them more, recruiting more. And it was so big and rampant, but who was involved in that? You have all these big names that come out, but no one does anything about it.
They don't.
It's like, dude, that's fake news, or
because they take all. What they did is they took all of these names and all that stuff, and they just focused it on one person, on Jeffrey Epstien, and that's it. And they made sure that all those other names just got put in the back burner, and then he suicided himself, right? So we're gonna do an Epstien episode, but so we're gonna jump from 1986 when she had a contract hit to 1988. 80 kids came forward, okay, saying that they were part of a child pornography and pedophile ring. One of the 80 children that came forward, his name is Paul Bonacci. He actually started naming names, mentioning people like the police chief, Robert Wadeen, who was the police chief in Nebraska, one of the cities in Nebraska at the time. And what they did is they actually put this kid in jail for perjury. And while he was in jail, he was talking to his lawyer. His lawyer's name is John DeCamp. Okay, guys. He was talking to his lawyer, and he told his lawyer that he was there when Johnny Gosch was kidnapped. He went from being a victim of these pedophiles to actually becoming a perpetrator. And the kidnapping ring used him to help kidnap Johnny Gosch. He said 2 months before they kidnapped Johnny Gosch, someone was sent out to take pictures of Johnny, and there was actually a witness that Norine said that somebody actually saw someone taking pictures of Johnny 2 months before the kidnapping. So it actually matched up for what he was saying. He said they took pictures and they put them in a catalog, and these elite pedophiles would pick these kids out of a catalog and pick out which one they wanted. And so 2 months before, they were already basically taking pictures of Johnny, and somebody picked his name out of the catalog, and then they ended up hiring these people to go kidnap. And I guess he also was able to describe the van that they took him in. He was able to describe the house the pictures were taken in front, that they were actually in front of, which matched up to that lady's house. Johnny, what it took. Oh, also he was able to draw pictures because I guess Paul Bonacci was a really good artist. He was able to draw pictures of the men that were involved. He ended up after that. So he ended up drawing pictures of the kids that are the people that were actually involved as well, dude, which is super interesting. And he ended up, after he got out of jail, he ended up going to court, and he was able to file a civil law. Okay, so the interesting thing is Paul Bonacci was able to file a civil lawsuit against the men that had done this to him. And while he was on the stand, the judge asked him, why did they choose Johnny? And he told them that he picked him out of a catalog because
catalog. Got you,
yeah,
catalog. Dude.
Yes.
It's like, hey man, I want a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, Asian boy. Now,
exactly. Well, there's actually pictures, I guess, that he's saying back in the day. This is in the 80s, so a picture catalog would just be like, all right, page number 5, I want kid number 2. So
yeah, but see, look at, I want kid number 2.
It's crazy, bro.
They get the pedophile to go do the dirty work for him. Okay, probably that person's probably been Stockholm syndrome all the way up to, probably been doing this for years. Had the same thing happen to him, and it's rampant.
Yeah,
it's rampant. I don't get how anybody could just harm a little child like that and act like it's okay and do things like it's okay. Like, even if you're not seeing it, like most likely the cops or all those, whatever is involved, they're not seeing it, but they're getting paid for it, or they're getting money for it. It's like, hey, if I don't get to see it, I ain't gonna worry about it until it's in their front door.
Yeah. It's crazy, dude.
That's, and I don't understand how people aren't like really looking at this stuff. This stuff is all over YouTube. This stuff is right there for you to look at. Look it up.
It's like you have to, the thing is, it's not going to just pop up. Like, you have to be searching and searching and searching, like we did. You have to be searching, and then you find out about this. And then, the person that told me about this is my friend at work. He told me he told me like 5 years ago, 6 years ago about this. And I just found out that, I just looked into that, the 800,000 kids that were missing. And I'm like, all right. And then Johnny Gosch pulled up, and I was like, oh, I told my friend, dude, didn't you tell me about this? My friend Chuck at work. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, all right, cool. So I started looking into it, and then, this is where we're at. So, so Paul Bonacci, he actually did a lawsuit against Larry King, which we're going to definitely get into Larry King, dude. He has to do with the Franklin scandal. One of the civil suits, he actually won $1 million in his lawsuit. Even after that, the police in Des Moines, Iowa, or Nebraska never interviewed Paul Bonacci. The problem with Paul Bonacci, he actually had multiple personality syndrome. So, because, he was molested and he was abused, and what happens is sometimes when that happens, you get post-traumatic stress, and then you get split personality syndrome. So they never ever wanted to interview him, even though he won the suit, bro. Like, he couldn't get the criminal charges pushed against him, but he was able to get the civil suit against him. Yeah,
it's just like when O.J. Simpson, got off on murdering. Well, allegedly murdering his, wife and Ron Goldman, but got sued in a civil suit for millions of dollars and lost.
Yep.
So you're saying that, okay, I'm not guilty of killing her, but I'm responsible for her death.
Yeah. It's crazy. That's a good thing to bring up, bro. It's exactly so. And then also Paul Bonacci showed Norine the farmhouse that they took. I mean, this is kind of like, this is information that probably Norine, like, at least she got to know what happened to her son. I mean, but you're going to find out later, dude, that it's crazy but his son, there's a little bit of good news to this, even though it's insane. He showed Norine the farmhouse they took Johnny to after they kidnapped him. I guess they kept him in there for like 2 weeks, bound and gagged, and he got sexually assaulted. Paul also told Norine that the guys that kidnapped her son got $8,500. He was then sold to a person that would use him like an escrow service. So during the civil suit, Paul was asked, how did they know Johnny would be alone that day? This is the important part, man, about that phone call.
Yeah.
He said prior arrangements were made with Mr. Gosch on the phone. And he said this on the stand in the civil suit. And the police never interviewed Mr. Gosch about this. So on the phone, when that 1:30 a.m. Supposed wrong number phone call happened, he was saying, okay, all right. Like they were probably telling them, hey, make sure he goes alone tomorrow because we're going to do it tomorrow. So I don't know Mr. Gosch, I don't know him. I don't know him.
Well, first of all, he's the one who decided to let his own son go by himself.
Yeah.
Right then, therefore, you're not suspect, but you already did something that wasn't supposed to be done. Yeah.
Yeah. And Norine Gosch didn't find this out till way later. So then she was able to divorce him. But the thing is, I don't know, Mr. Gosch. He was never he did do some weird stuff. Let me tell you guys something that he did that was weird. Okay. Mr. Gosch actually went and met with Paul Bonacci with another lady posing as his wife. Okay. So he had this other woman. Paul Bonacci wanted to meet Norine Gosch. And what happened is Mr. Gosch brought this woman there to talk to Paul Bonacci and say that this is his wife when it really wasn't. So she didn't get this information that she should have had. So he did do some sideways stuff, dude. Because he didn't want, obviously, if he was involved, he didn't want his wife to get the information that about all this stuff, dude, that Paul Bonacci was going to do. She didn't find this out until he was actually on the stand.
Did she ever ask, did they ever find out if her husband was going through financial problems at that time? They find out if he was ever like in debt at that time. Did you ever find out maybe he was actually one of the kids a long time ago that was probably, done that to him back in the day?
Well, he was actually at this club, dude, where these people from, these pedophiles used to hang out. They said that there was witness that said that they saw Mr. Gosch at that club hanging out with some of these people that were in the Nebraska Franklin pedophile ring. So there was witnesses that say that he was hanging out with them. So probably a big money grab. Maybe he was in debt. Maybe something was going on. I mean, I don't know. That's to do that to your son. The only thing is I'm really reaching. I don't know, because he never got brought into the court of law. They never got to.
Dude, if someone that doesn't know
this guy,
if someone that doesn't know you is bringing you up and is bringing your name into it, and it's a huge thing that's going on, why would he lie?
Yeah, I know. Oh, this guy, I don't think this guy was lying, dude.
He's giving you.
Let me tell you why I don't think he was.
Where's the motive?
I'll tell you something that was really, really okay. So Norine met with Paul Bonacci, and he told her things that only she would know, dude, and Johnny would know. Like he said that Johnny had a birthmark on his chest, a scar on his tongue, a burn scar on his lower leg, because her son used to ride dirt bikes. So when you ride, you get the exhaust. Sometimes you get burned from the exhaust. So that's actually something that, and that was not widely circulated information, dude. Okay. So the scars were never made public. So Bonacci also described a stammer that Johnny had, like when he would get upset. I don't know what a stammer is. Probably like something he would do, like whenever
it's like a nervous tick.
Now, the FBI and local police did not believe Paul Bonacci was a credible witness in the case, and they have never interviewed him. So that's crazy, dude. So let's look at John DeCamp. John DeCamp is actually the attorney for Paul Bonacci. Okay, let's look at his character because we'll see what's up with this gentleman. So John DeCamp, he was Paul Bonacci's lawyer. Let's look into this gentleman. So he was a controversial politician, a Republican politician in the state of Nebraska who served as legislator from 1971 to 1987. He served as an infantry officer in the United States Army during Vietnam War. And in 1975, he initiated Operation Baby Lift, which evacuated 2,800 orphan Vietnamese children out of Vietnam. So he actually helped all these kids. Okay. In 1992, Paul DeCamp wrote the paperback book, The Franklin Cover-Up, Child Abuse, Satanism, and Murder in Nebraska, which he talked about the existence of a Franklin child prostitution ring, which involved murder and Satanism, is what they said on here. So I thought that was pretty interesting. He also served with the CIA director, William Kobe, who was a deputy ambassador for Vietnam time. So he became really good friends with the CIA director, William Kobe, at the time. Okay. And that kind of connection, because William Kobe actually called him and told him that you're kind of getting in too deep with these people, man. You got to be careful. You got to be careful.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
they're like onions. They got a lot of layers you got to peel off. And it's like kind of like you don't want to find this out. You don't want to know the truth now.
Well,
because you can't do anything about it.
People said it ended up dying, bro. That's why people ended up dying, dude. Like witnesses, even John DeCamp, dude. I'll tell you guys what happened to him, dude. So he ended up digging and digging and digging. He was representing three people. One, he was representing Paul Bonacci. He was representing two other people. I could get their names in a little bit. I don't want to look it up yet right now, but actually I could probably look it up. If you guys want to know. So if you guys ever look it up, I want to make sure that you can look it up. John DeCamp. Anyways, did you end up watching that show that I sent you, bro? The
Franklin one?
The other one, yeah, the Silence Conspiracy of Silence.
No, because I was too busy trying to get this one done. Like I like trying to like I said, I don't like to watch these sometimes or study them because it's like I'm trying to be more of a godly person, and to watch this stuff and not be able to do anything about it is really, really, really bothers me, dude. And it hits close home because I got a son that the same age as these kids, and to just to know that, like, that could happen at any time and moment in time is just horrible. It sucks. It's like, you got a lot of stuff that, to be thinking about, be worried about these nowadays. And your children are your gifts from God. And if, it's really hard to think this about, certain people that are supposed to be, protecting you and making sure that your best interests are kept intact. But it's not. It's these people are all in it, or if they're not in on it, someone's got dirt on them, and it's just it's sick.
Yes. So DeCamp. So remember I was talking about suspicious deaths. So I thought this was pretty interesting. So there was actually 15 suspicious deaths that were connected to the Franklin scandal. I thought that was pretty interesting. And one of them was actually John DeCamp. John DeCamp was the lawyer that was representing three of the kids in that came forward for the Franklin scandal. And what happened is he actually was flying in him and his son went to go watch an all-star game. He was actually a pilot, and his plane blew up in midair. So as he was representing these kids, he actually found some information that he was like really ecstatic about bringing over, because he was representing this girl that got in trouble for perjury as well, because she was naming some of the people. And what happened is he ended up dying in a plane crash, dude. So and they said that the way his plane crashed was it exploded in the air because there was parts like within a mile radius. It wasn't like he just crashed and then it landed on the floor.
Like a malfunction, like, oh man, okay, engine's down, we're going down. It's more like, okay, there was an explosion and then it went down.
Yeah, dude. So it's pretty interesting. And he ended up being the lawyer for the Franklin scandal, which is something we definitely want to get into. And it's connected to It's connected to Johnny Gosch because some of the same pedophile rings were going on at the same time, as when Johnny Gosch was actually taken, so it's pretty interesting. So I'm on segment 3. Let's get into the Franklin scandal. So, okay, so the Franklin child sex ring was a politically connected child prostitution ring in Omaha, Nebraska during the 1980s, all the way to 1980. 1988 is when the story came out, and one of the main ringleaders was a gentleman named Lawrence King. They say that he operated the ring, and he actually hosted these sex parties, which were attended by big political business elite people. Lawrence King or Larry King, and we're not talking about the Larry King from.
Oh, I was gonna say that's crazy. You're putting a far out accusation on that guy.
Not Larry King, not the one from TV.
I know.
Larry King from. So the reason why it's called the Franklin scandal is because Larry King actually worked at the Franklin Credit Union, and what happened was Franklin Credit Union was actually struggling, and then Larry King ended up taking over, and he was getting all these different people like the Boys Town Orphanage and all these different people to put their money into the credit union. And he was just doing dirty stuff behind the scenes, dude, like taking money. He was actually hosting all these parties. Dude, he had tons of money coming his way, dude. I think I have something on him real quick. Let me look it up. Sorry. On what the type of parties he was throwing.
They weren't good ones, I'll tell you that, but they weren't, they weren't the good parties.
No, dude. Hold on, let's see. Okay, so so he was operating on a $16,200 a year salary, and he drove a $70,000 white Mercedes, $10,000 a month in limousine charges, had credit charges that topped at $1 million. He owned a 4-story house on 26 acres overlooking the Missouri River. His floral bill alone came out to $146,000, okay, during a 13-month period. So he also threw a $100,000 party for 1,000 friends of the Republican National Convention. So this gentleman was splurging, and he had all this money. And this is not just money he was stealing from the credit union, because that's one thing that he actually got charged for. Okay, he got charged for embezzling money from the credit union, but and he actually got charged for looting $38 million from the Franklin Credit Union, which is crazy. And he got charged for it. And he got so this gentleman was like the ringleader of this the Franklin scandal, of this child pedophile ring. So what he would do is he would take these kids and there's actually accusations that he took some of them from the boys' home, it's called Boys Town, which is a Catholic orphanage. Okay, guys. So, and also from the Nebraska foster care system. And he would abuse them at sex parties, and he would have all these elite politicians. What he would do is he would throw these parties, and he would have what the witnesses were saying was he would throw the parties, and all the senators would be there, and all these higher ups, right? And then all the legit ones would leave like at 10:30, the party's over. And the ones that wanted to do this nefarious action with these kids and these boys and these girls would stay afterwards. And they said that there was cocaine, drug-filled parties with elite politicians, rich people, and they would stay and they would do these bad things with these kids. Now, there's actual 3 kids that came forward, and he was representing those 3 kids. And what happened was one of the kids was a heroin addict. Okay, so he came forward and said that what happened was he was being pressured from some powerful people to come out and say that this whole thing is a lie. Okay. Yeah, so what happened was, it's just like this. Let's say you're addicted to heroin, right? And you come out with these other 2 kids and you say, hey, this did happen. But then all of a sudden they start feeding you your heroin or whatever they're doing. And they say, hey, listen, we need you to come out and say that this was a lie. So he ended up calling like the girl on the phone that came out and said that this happened, and telling her, hey, this is like being recorded by the FBI. He was saying like, hey, we're lying, right? We're lying. And she was like, we're not lying. Why are you saying that? Why are you saying that? So she's just basically trying to get her to slip up and say something, but she never denied it. And she actually went to jail for perjury. So she she got sentenced to 8 years for perjury, ended up doing 4. So she took it all the way to the end, dude. And Paul Bonacci was also always saying that this actually happened. Paul Bonacci was involved in the Johnny Gosch case, and Paul Bonacci was involved in this this scandal. So what they said the whole thing was for the same thing that Epstien was for, dude. It was for blackmailing politicians and government officials, businessmen, and media figures by sexually abusing children. So let's say this, dude. Let's say we watch the old mafia movies, or we watch these old politician movies where they have pictures of you like cheating on your wife or something, or kissing some girl. They take pictures of that. That's some evidence you don't want to come out. That's bad. But dude, when you have pictures of people that are high power hooking up with little children,
ludicrous acts.
That's a whole different ball game, dude. Right? That's like
that's how you get other people. That's how you get blackmail other people into things that are
real things.
Yeah,
like let's say you want some legislation passed or whatever. You want some legislation passed. You can push some major moves, dude, if you have this type of stuff. So some people believe that King carried out this blackmail operation on behalf of the CIA in partnership with this Republican lobbyist. His name was Craig Spense. Okay, this gentleman, it was interesting because let me tell you some stuff about Craig Spense, dude. This dude is very interesting. His house was actually rigged up with where's it at?
Cameras, like inside, like just cameras everywhere, or what?
Yeah, bro. It was rigged up, dude. Segment 5, Craig Spense. There we go. Sorry, guys. So Craig Spense, he was a Republican lobbyist. Okay, so he's another one, dude. He ended up being found dead in the Ritz-Carlton hotel room in 1989, dude. So it was crazy. Now Spence was he also was involved in so he was involved with call boys, right? He was also involved with bringing these call boys to the White House, and they would have after hours they'd have like after hours tours in the White House. And this is going on like the 80s. So what happened was it actually ended up being a New York Times article, dude, about this. Which is crazy. I wouldn't even think the New York or Washington Post actually had an article about some call boys going to the White House. You guys can look it up, dude. It's really interesting. So Craig Spense, they say that he was a CIA operative, right? And what happened was his whole home was actually hooked up with all these cameras and all this stuff so that they could do the blackmail on these people, right? And so that's one of the gentlemen that they say was involved. And it's crazy because on November 10th, 1989, Spence was found dead in room 429 of Boston Ritz-Carlton, right? He was dressed in a tuxedo. They said he has $3 in his pocket, according to the police report. He was found by hotel employees, and on the mirror. Oh, there's also, they said there was like a false ceiling in the bathroom where there was like 7 packets of Xanax that they found, prescription anxiety drug. And then on the mirror, he wrote, "Chief, consider this my resignation effective immediately. As you always said, you can't ask others to make a sacrifice if you are not ready to do the same. Life is duty. God bless America." So that's what he said, dude. It's crazy. So he was part of the CIA and he was a Republican lobbyist. And it just was really interesting to me, man. Sorry, I'm just going off on this, but I just thought it was crazy. So there was a guy named Henry Vincent. There's a book that came out called DC Madam. He had a gay prostitution ring, and he's the one that was saying in that book that Craig's house was all hooked up with audio and visual for blackmail for pedophiles. So he was definitely involved in this thing, man. I kind of want to.
A lot of people. I think everybody's involved. Shoot, man. How about if I ever find out I ever like gave the church gave you something like that or something like, hey man, I sent you a nice little donation. Oh, cool, to the Boys and Girls Clubs of America.
Oh, yeah,
Hey,
no.
yeah,
Dude,
it's awesome.
bro, let me tell you something that's crazy. They had a $500 million budget at the Boys Town, okay? 500 million. That's how much money people sent to these people, right? And it's Catholic, okay? If they knew what they know now about all the pedophiles that were in the Catholic Church, they would have definitely went into
Cut
Boys
that
Town
out.
and
Yep.
ran that thing in.
No more funds for you.
Yeah, well, no more funds, and also they would probably would have found a lot of dirt, dude, about that. And the crazy thing is, it's just like the Epstein thing, bro. They would go in, they would take these kids from Boys Town Orphanage and also from the Nebraska foster care, and they would fly them coast to coast for all these different parties, and it's just like Epstein. Epstein was doing it on an international level.
Doing it on his own island.
He was taking these girls and taking them to an island, and then all the politicians would do what they wanted to over there. They had to do it that way because back in the 80s, like we were talking about, it's not like now, you know, it's like they didn't have like the World Wide Web and all these different social media. And so that's Epstein was doing it where he was flying them internationally. These people were flying from Nebraska to DC to meeting with Craig Spense, for some of the White House executives, dude. That's insane, bro. Why do you think they wanted to stop the scandal from coming out, bro? Like they didn't allow the FBI.
You start digging too deep. You start finding out, like I said, you don't want to find the truth out.
Oh, God, bro, it starts to be insane. So Henry Vincent, like I was telling you, the DC maddam, he talks about how he was pressured by Larry King and Craig Spense to get underage boys for them. Henry Vincent's story begins much like the stories from many other children of West Virginia. He grew up in Nolan. I don't even know if I want to talk about that. Who cares about that? But anyways, he ended up basically starting an escort service. Okay. So he started escort service in it's like the largest gay escort service in Washington, DC. And he was the most important part of it was he was recounting in this book about Larry King, which is the guy that was involved in the Franklin scandal, and Craig Spense trying to get underage boys for them. So they were pressuring him. So I think that's pretty interesting to bring up. It's just crazy, man. Crazy stuff, dude. Interesting stuff.
Very crazy.
We started at what time? 9:30? We're almost at 11 now.
Yeah. I gotta get done, dude. I got my son stuff.
All right. So this is going to be our episode that's going to kind of bring us into like the other, you know, the Epstein stuff. I think we're going to try to get into the Roy Cohen, which is like, that's Donald Trump's mentor. Okay. He had like a blackmailing pedophile ring in New York. Okay. We had that. I'll tell you guys some other avenues if you guys want to look like that are related to this before we end. Oh geez, I forgot to tell you guys. Okay. Let me tell you guys currently what happened with Johnny Gosch. Okay. So his mom, you have to know this part. This is the ending to the Johnny Gosch part. His mom said that 15 or 16 years after he got taken or kidnapped, that he knocked on the door, bro, at 2:00 in the morning and she said that she talked to him for about 2.5 hours, but there was like a handler, one of his handlers with him that
like his pimp or like his whatever it was.
He was so lost in the sauce, bro. They said that there was MK Ultra mind control going on with these kids. He was so lost in the sauce, bro. But he ended up coming to see his mom. She said she talked to him and that's the last time she ever spoke with him. So I mean, I don't know, dude. I don't know, man. I mean, that some people are saying that she's just saying that. Some people are saying that she's lying. I don't know if she'd be lying, dude. She's really
why would she lie about any of this?
She's not crazy in any way, dude. She's
why would she lie about this? There's no reason to lie.
Exactly. And what happened was a mafia member ended up coming to her before she met with her son, and he said that he's going to help her out, and he doesn't need to get paid any money because he said that mafia doesn't do this type of stuff, and he actually helped her out, and then she ended up meeting with Johnny. Okay, so he set it up to where he's going to come and meet with her. She talked to him. who knows if she still talks to him to this day. I really didn't get to follow up on that part. I don't know if she calls him.
You don't hear about her. You don't hear nothing
still
about
alive
her
right now. You don't hear anything about her anymore, but this is the type of stuff that we like to look into. But okay, so related networks to this thing, if you guys want to look into it. So Washington DC cowboy ring, which is something that we brought up, which is the Spence thing. The Johnny Gosch abduction was something that we looked into. The Presidio sex abuse stuff is something that was the one that me and you looked into with that I forgot the guy's name.
Military.
Dude.
It was the military right?
Dude. Yes. I can't remember his name
like
right
Mike
now.
something. I know, like Mike.
Yeah. Oh, Michael Aquino. Sorry.
There you go.
Michael Aquino.
Thomas
Okay.
Aquinas.
Which we looked into, and we talked about that. The Catholic Church sex abuse cases, which we're gonna probably have to go over at some point. There's just a whole bunch of stuff. The Penn State one. I guess the person that represented Joe Paterno was involved in was somebody that he represented in one of these cases, so represented one of these people. So I thought that was
Joe Paterno.
Yeah, remember when the Penn State molestation case came out? Yeah, Sandusky. Yeah. So there was a connection there. The Finders. If you guys want to look into them, dude, I think we're going to probably do an episode on them sometime. If we want to get into them. It was a cult organization with evidence of CIA connections, child abuse, trafficking, Satanism, all that stuff in there. So I just want to give you guys a list of stuff to look into where you guys could find if you guys are interested in this stuff. I personally like crime shows. I like the First 48, and if I could connect a conspiracy to it, I kind of like doing that. So. I think that's about as much as we're going to do tonight. That was about an hour and a half of podcasting. So, the end of it, I think we got to end it with Johnny Gosch actually ended up seeing his mom. So he was still alive.
Yeah, that's good. Right? That's good.
So we'll talk a little more about this. I want to try to do an Epstien episode probably coming up, but I just need to get the right guest.
Yeah.
The right guest. So I'll find one and we'll end up doing it. But, next week, guys, we have Gary Wayne on. So it's going to be super interesting. We're going to end it in prayer real quick. Give me 1 sec. All right. Father God, in the name of Jesus, thank you so much for giving us this time. Lord, we ask that you please help the FBI, help the anybody that's looking into these cases, help all the detectives. Please help the children, anybody that's gone missing, any parents out there, please put your healing hand on them if they have missing children, any runaways. Please, Lord, please help them and put your healing hand and help them be found. We appreciate you giving us the time to go over this, Lord, and I appreciate everything you do for us. Thank you. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thanks, brother. All right. I love you, bro.
Awesome. That was a good show. Good show, dude.
Yeah, I think it was good. I didn't really get to end too much on the Franklin scandal. Okay. So with that though, guys, they ended up saying that it was a hoax. And that they ended up not pressing charges against any of these people.
Wouldn't doubt it.
That's what happened with the Franklin scandal. They said, if you look it up on Wikipedia, they're going to tell you it's a hoax, but read up into it. Maybe I could have a show just strictly on that and just kind of tell you guys what happened with it, but we'll see. But thank you guys so much. We appreciate you guys listening.
Yes.
And we need help. Subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube if you guys can. We need help. YouTube is, for some reason, they're shadow banning us. So thank you guys so much. We love you. Appreciate you.
Bye.